Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have Elysia Stobbe back on the show. She was previously here at marketeroftheday.com/581. And if you don't know her, if you haven't heard of her, she's been on Wall Street Journal, NPR, and Fox. She has been in the running for a Pulitzer Prize. She has helped out with the new Oxford American Dictionary. She has presented at Harvard University. She is the best-selling author of How to Get Approved for the Best Mortgage Without Sticking a Fork in Your Eye. And she has a brand new book called Journey to Success. She has a brand new Facebook group, and we're going to talk all about how we can not only survive this pandemic or whatever economic upheaval we're currently currently going through. If it's 2030, 2035, whatever it is, your brain is something that can either help you or work against you. So Elysia will be helping you get through it and get past it and emerge better than you have ever been before. So Elysia, glad to be talking to you.
Hey, thanks, Robert. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and what's really great about you and like seeing what you do, I know we only catch up every few years, but it's like you're like an overachiever workaholic in the best possible way. And when I see what you've done with like growing the mortgage thing and doing the news and the podcast appearances, I'm always looking to like how to tap into some of that motivation. So I'll be kind of keeping that in mind. But tell me about what you have been up to, and tell me about this whole 52-week motivational program you have.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm super excited. So really, like a lot of people, when COVID first hit, I was overwhelmed and scared and fearful, and I have pre-existing conditions myself. So I was probably a little bit, overcautious or paranoid. And I was actually supposed to be retired and traveling in Europe. So none of that happened. And instead, I went to work. I focused on my mortgage coaching business and just put out some great products for them. And then when I looked at myself, I just was kind of, what am I doing? Like, I'm just stuck here in no man's land, just kind of waiting. And I just, I was overwhelmed and just didn't know what to do. And so little by little, I remembered my training from Tony Robbins. I, trained with him for 3 years, and then I'm on his senior leadership team with him for 5. So I was like, what am I doing? I have all these amazing tools. And then I started to develop my own tools and just kind of pulled myself out of it and just had like monumental shifts. And when I sat down to write this book, it was supposed to be a business book, but it turned out to be a spiritual book. And because I really thought I can help all these other people, week by week. It's not a huge time investment. People get overwhelmed if they have to do, 15 or 20 minutes a day, even though that's optimal. But once a week, most people can do. And if you do the practices week by week, here it is almost a year later, and look how much has changed. If we actually can take control of that ourselves, which anybody can, right? We can always control the inside. We just forget. You can have a huge change in the same amount of time that, maybe nothing could have happened instead.
The time will pass anyway. And
Yes.
and that seems very doable with just some small habits to do every week. It's kind of like that whole thing everyone makes fun of, where when the new year rolls around, there's New Year's resolutions. There's such a crowd of people that they just do everything, right? They buy all kinds of, they throw out everything in the fridge. They get a year-long gym membership. They try to run 10 miles and they set themselves up for failure. They self-sabotage. But then if you just kind of ease into it, if you make it a part of your daily life, then, I mean, that can really add up over time. And I'm looking at the table of contents. You're talking about like alignment, empowerment, family, failing forward. And I popped in on your Facebook group a few minutes ago, and you were talking about how important it is to just say hi to people, like strangers, because it's a thing we don't really do anymore, right? We keep 6 feet away. We cross the street when someone else is showing up. So these all seem like things that we need to stay on track and to just kind of prevent falling into the abyss. So you said that this started as a business book, and then turned into a spiritual book. And it sounds like from talking about what you went through that this is like as much for yourself as for everyone else. At least that's what it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I started fine tuning these practices so I could help myself and keep myself in a peak state. I mean, for several months in the initial pandemic, I didn't go because of my concerns about my pre-existing condition. I didn't go anywhere except for the grocery store. And so I was completely isolated. And, you know, we're humans. We have tribes, we have packs, we have communities. We're supposed to be around other people. So I started these practices, and yeah, the initial concept was like, okay, I'll do a 52-week business book. I'll find a business quote, and, you know, I'll do something inspirational for the quote. And then, you know, each chapter will be about what they could do for that quote for business. But when I started pulling together all the quotes, the things that came out that I started writing about and prompting were all these lessons that I had developed myself. And that's when I thought, oh, this is what's supposed to happen, right? It's not supposed to be about business. It's supposed to be about helping as many people as possible.
Well, and that's cool because I think that's when you know you're doing it right, when your book takes on a life of its own and it ends up being something that you didn't set out to create and its own thing. I think that's way more magical. And it seems like that's kind of like you were writing to help people instead of just going through the motions, filling in the gaps, because it would have been so much easier to just stick with the businessy quotes and to just say, well, I guess I'll just power through and I'll find 10 more and I'll write some lessons. But it's like you went with it and you figured out where it was going to evolve to. So out of all these 52 weeks, is there one lesson or one activity that really stands out for you? Is there one that's your favorite?
Well, I usually try to focus on gratitude, which is the first chapter. It's also the longest chapter because it really sets the tone for the entire book. So that one's my favorite because you know, if you make it, yes, you only have to do it once a week. But if you make it a daily practice, I just find that overall I have better days and I'm a happier human, right? Because we can always focus on what's wrong or what's missing, but we can choose to focus on what's positive and what's great, right? Like with your baby, you could be like, oh, the baby, you know, had diarrhea all over me this morning. Or you could be like, my baby smiled at me, right? So what's, you know, I mean, not to be pretty graphic, but it's, you know, it's our choice what we want to focus on.
And hey, graphics, okay, I'm living it. But you're so right that the negativity is automatic. Like you don't even have to try to have the bad thoughts. Those will come in. It takes the strength to deal with those negative thoughts, and it's like takes like the renewed energy every day to get it back. And like for me that's huge too. And like it's always a good reminder because I forget to do the gratitude exercises, but whenever I'm like really stressed out or really stuck or overwhelmed or whatever, I just kind of think back to that. And like you mentioned, the baby, like he's probably the biggest reminder. Like I look at him and I'm like, he'll never be this young again. I'm gonna like soak up every last little moment and enjoy all the time with him when he's just like a little guy. And I mean, that's been huge for me at so many like points along the way. So as far as this whole like gratitude for you in practical terms, you say that you do it every day instead of every week. Are you the kind of person that do you think of like 3 new things every time, or you focus on the same ones, or like what's kind of your thought process with this gratitude thing, which like a lot of people talk about, but then what's the actual activity?
Sure, that's a great question. So actually, I do have a video where I walk people through that first chapter. So I usually try to get centered and breathe and slow my breathing down. So it becomes a little bit of a meditation, depending on, you know, what people are comfortable with, if you want to call it a meditation or an exercise. So I just breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth and just kind of slow everything down. And then I just think of 3 things. So I do, just like you said, 3. Doesn't need to be complicated. And it's whatever comes to mind or whatever I notice or I see. Like today in the Facebook group, the Journey to Success group, I just happened to be walking my dog and turned on the camera, when, you know, when I ran into that other person, and just, it was a beautiful sunrise. And so instantly, you know, I'm grateful for the beautiful weather, the beautiful sunrise, and my health, that I can actually enjoy the walk. And then, you know, something else comes to mind, like, hey, here's another person who's smiling at me and I'm smiling at them. And then I ran into somebody else and we had an interesting conversation. So it's just, and the whole time in the back of my head, I had so that was early. That was like 7:30. I had an 8 a.m. to be on camera for. And in the meantime, I'm like, I'm not going to stress. I'll make it back by 8, and I'm just going to be present in the moment with this beautiful sunrise and these other humans. And I think that's a big piece of it too, is being present and enjoying the moment and not thinking about all the other things I had to do the rest of the day. And I actually prefer to say I get to, not I have to, because it's a little trick that I play on my own mind. But when you think of it that way, you're looking forward to all these things, because the reality is, right, it's your life, it's my life, it's our lives. So if we're doing things we get to instead of we have to, right, like changing the baby's diaper or whatever, again, it's just a little trick that helps you be more positive than, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff the rest of the day, and how am I going to get all the timing done? And like, it's really easy for your brain to just go in that stress pattern. But if you just do those little tricks and focus on right now, like here being with you, it's awesome.
I agree. It's sort of counterintuitive, because you think that if I think about every single thing that'll happen the rest of the day, then I'll have total control over it, and I'll know exactly what's happening. And it's like, but if you overload yourself, then you won't get anything done and you won't think about anything. So the only logical way to go about it is to chip away one thing at a time. And there's so many times when, you know, we see the garbage overflowing, and, you know, I get to take the garbage out. I'll feel better once that's taken care of. I'll feel a little bit of accomplishment. I'll have, you know, walked outside and gotten some fresh air, and things like changing the baby's diaper. And I mean, like, it works better for everyone overall. And I mean, that whole concept there of like, I get to versus I have to, for some reason, I think back to, there was some random moment where me and some family members had to clear out a house. Like my dad had died and we had to clear out all of his stuff. And the three of us, just one person went to this room, one person went to that room. Like, no one was lazy. No one had to stop and say, wait, what do you want me to do? We just sprung into action just because it was just the thing to do. And I mean, the time will, like we said, the time will pass anyway. You might just, like, you can choose to sit on the couch and watch TV, but like, you're still doing the work, right? You're still breathing, your heart's still beating. You might as well be productive there. And so as far as like you kind of branching off into this new area, is this like the new you? Are you still doing like the mortgage coaching in parallel? Like, what's the master plan here, or is one, or does there even have to be one?
I kind of think there does be one, but it's interesting because, and if I could just go back to you taking out the garbage comment real quick. See, I look at that like, not all the things you said were awesome. And for me, I'd be like, thank God I have food to make garbage, right? Like, if we look at where we are around the planet, I mean, most of us, you know, really we have so much to be grateful for. So, but anyway, back to the plan, not the plan. So it's interesting because, yeah, I mean, it just depends on kind of where you know me from, I guess, right? As to what, so I'm still doing the mortgage. I'm still originating mortgages, and thank goodness, because it's been a phenomenal year. Rates are low, and due to the pandemic, a lot of people want to move. They want bigger space. They want a bigger yard. So that's kept me busy. I'm fortunate to really dial it down and serve on a greater level my mortgage coaching clients. But the spirituality, I mean, really for the past 8 years, I went through some major shifts. And then about 4 and 5 years ago, I had major health challenges. So that's really the point where I began making lifelong changes, little by little by little, both with, you know, my spirituality and my mental focus, as well as, you know, and diet and health habits. So, I mean, that's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now because I had to. or, you know, I might not be here. And traditional medicine, unfortunately, really wasn't that helpful. So yeah, so I just think it's another component that maybe if you know me from the, you know, from the Tony Robbins environment, then yeah, you're like, oh, of course. A lot of people actually in that environment don't even know that I do mortgages. So it's kind of just like, what do you know me by? And obviously the mortgage gets a lot more publicity. Yeah, it's just another part of me, I guess. Just
And
thought
it
it
works
was
for
worth
you.
saying.
Yeah, and I think that I can relate to maybe having just enough chaos, right? And like I'm kind of similar where like some people know me for like programming reasons and some for podcasting
Right.
reasons, and so I like your kind of philosophy there that, well, if they happen to know you from that, then that's just how they know you. And I mean, it's always good to like examine the branding, but sometimes I drive myself crazy when someone says, "Well, you should only be known for one thing." Well, can I be known for like three? Like, I'm not looking to be known for like 30, but can I be known for a handful? So that's kind of reassuring for some of us who feel like we're going through that kind of like identity crisis. And so, since we're on the topic of business and marketing in these last final minutes, one of the questions that you sent to me for me to ask you is, what is your favorite marketing hack? So I couldn't resist that. What is your favorite marketing hack?
I think whenever you can leverage social media, it's my favorite hack. However, it has to be done genuinely and sincerely. So, you know, from when we've talked before, I really try to approach everything from a serving mentality. Um, so, I mean, if anybody asks me to do anything to help them, I will always do it. But when it comes to social media, I just feel like you can't always only post the stuff where you're doing great things. Like you just have to be real and sometimes, you know, eat a slice of humble pie. There was a post I did in the Journey to Success group a couple of nights ago, and it was just like, if you're familiar with Esther Perel, she's a
Yeah.
relationship coach. Oh, she's so in tune. It's amazing. But I put one of her podcasts on and I just said, you know, if I point the finger at myself, I have the opportunity to grow. Like if there's a relationship challenge, friend, lover, whatever. But if I point the finger somewhere else, I don't learn anything about myself. So, you know, and I took that from a real life situation. So I feel like social media, if, you know, if you use it genuinely and sincerely with the true intent to serve, it's a great hack.
And it seems to be just easier and simpler to do it that way. If you're doing 10 takes and it has to be exactly perfect and it has to be super bubbly and everything's positive, it's like, so you're working harder to be less sincere for people to be kind of tired of it much more quickly. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Why not just the cameras and the phones are good enough, just fire it up. And if you're walking your dog at the beach saying hi to people, why not just document that? Why not have something that's real? It makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so to connect the group to the book and the course, like what's your plan here? What route do you want people to go through?
So if they want to go to keytosuccessinlife.com, that's where they can get, there's actually a 10-page freebie that I'm giving away that's not in the book. So if they want to go ahead and do that, they can. And then if they choose to buy the book, it's on Amazon, or the link is also from my website, Elysia Stobbe Books, plural.com. They can click on it and get the book there. If they enjoy the book and would like to write a review, I actually have 2 free videos for the first 2 weeks of the 52-week course that goes along with the book, where basically I'm walking people through. And it's really more accountability because it's easy to do like the first 2 chapters and then not come back to it next Sunday. And then, you know, then people feel like, oh, I'm behind. The bottom line is I didn't make it January through December. There's 52 weeks. You can start whenever you want. You can do 2 chapters a week. But if they like the book and are kind enough to give a review on Amazon, because I want to help as many people as possible, then I give away those first 2 video. And they can also see if they like the style in the format of that as well. And I want to help as many people as possible make positive incremental changes and shifts in their life, because there's so much craziness going on. We just need a little more joy juice, as I like to call it, in our lives every day.
I agree, and it seems like you're filling a need here because it's easy to hop on YouTube and dial up some self-help video and that gets you by, but then there's no long-term plan, there's no routine, and then you could go to a Tony Robbins event, buy a big old huge course, and that's fine too. But then that's
Sure.
quite the commitment. And I love when things are set up in like a 30-day or a 52-week or a 365-day kind of thing, because it kind of has the best of both, right? There's the bite-sized chunks, but then I also feel like it's moving somewhere. And like you said, if you stall out on week 9 and you pick it up later, well, then you just kind of continue on in those steps in that path. So we said keys to success in life.com to get those
Please,
freebies.
singular. Yes, sorry, key is singular. Key to success in life.
So just the one key, the one most important key to successinlife.com to get the freebie, and then ElysiaStobbebooks.com to find out that book and leave a review on Amazon and join that Facebook group. So that way you can get that accountability that Elysia was talking about, where you can see other people posting. If Elysia finds a cool podcast or decides to live stream on the beach, that is the place to go to. And so is that easily accessible? Is that just a search on Facebook thing, or do you funnel them to that group from someplace?
If they do the opt-in for the free 10-page download, then they should get a follow-up email to join the Facebook group Journey to Success. However, they can also search on Facebook. It's not hidden, it's public. I wanted to help as many people as possible. And also, one of the things that I really am enjoying is that I'm not the guru. Like, I give some info, but other people in the group, I'm so impressed with who's stepping up and sharing information. And there's amazing posts in there from a lot of different people, which I like. So, and one thing I will say too, since the title of the book is Journey to Success, I just wanted to let your audience know that it's not my definition of success. That's part of the point of the book, is the reader gets to figure out what they want to do, what makes them happy, and therefore they determine their own definition of success. It's not somebody else telling you. So
nice. So it's everyone has their own personalized goal. That way you're not trying to fit into some kind of cookie cutter. Here's what success is. It's what you decide what success is. That's great.
Yeah. So it's empowering.
Fantastic. Well, if you, in podcast land, if you would like to be empowered, if you want to get that consistent help, if you want to join that community, key to successinlife.com, and then that will get you to that freebie, and then eventually to the Journey to Success Facebook group. As we wrap up, wind down here, Elysia, do you have any final parting words or thoughts, anything that you wish would just like stick in our minds long after we listen to this episode?
I think sometimes it can be scary to embark on a journey of personal growth. Not everybody is like, woohoo! And it can be challenging and painful. But the bottom line is, when you come out on the other side, you have a life that you can truly enjoy for yourself, because you've defined it with your own definition. You're happy. So I say, give it a shot and get in there.